everybody, and welcome back to Flock Talk. Now, how many of you have birds that get a little aggressive, perhaps, when you approach their resources? Maybe their cage, maybe their food dish, maybe their vegetables, maybe even a favorited toy. Judging by the comments, quite a few of you guys are having some problems with birds who are getting particularly aggressive as they're trying to protect a treasured resource. Now, this is not an uncommon behavior, and it isn't necessarily a bad one either. It is very natural and normal for your bird to want to protect things that are valuable to them. Most of the time, this is either their food or their habitat. They don't want other birds coming into their space and stealing things, so they're not going to want you to come into their space, invade their sort of special safety area, and steal things that are going to be valuable to their survival. So the fact that your bird is protecting these things isn't necessarily something that's bad. It isn't something that they're doing that's wrong. It's just something that's causing us a little bit of struggle with trying to engage with them and perhaps change their food out every day. Obviously, if a bird is lunging at you or trying to attack you through the bars and all you want to do is give them food, that's a bit of a problem. So yes, resource guarding is absolutely healthy and natural and normal, but we need to be able to work with our birds in a way where they aren't going to try to attack us every time we try and give them something new in the morning. So before thinking about what we can do to change this, I do want you guys to take a second and think about what you are presently doing with your bird in this situation. If your bird is getting aggressive when you approach their cage or their food bowl, what exactly is going on? Are you doing something that is potentially provoking? Are you wearing a bright colored hat that they could be seeing as vibrant head feathers that are coming in an aggressive manner? Are you looming over them and making yourself very threatening? Are you doing anything that you could simply change, maybe the way you approach or what you are presenting, in order to help your bird feel more comfortable with you coming near the cage? If you can think of anything that could potentially be making your bird a little bit more scared or feeling like they need to protect their items, I would take a moment to try and evaluate that and change those basic little details. With those aside, let's say that you are approaching your bird absolutely perfectly, you are making yourself non-threatening, you're not coming at them with a big open hand, you are being calm, you are being very, very respectful, you're coming at them with more valuable resources and your bird is still behaving aggressively. Here's a couple things we can do to help encourage them to know that us coming towards their resources is not a bad thing. So the first thing I've done is I've taken Newt's food bowl here, which would normally be in his cage, in his safe space, in his territory, and I have moved it into a more neutral zone. Now, this is a common area that both the birds are allowed to exist in. This is a shared space. This is not any one bird's particular space of territory. So this immediately reduces a lot of that very aggressive tone that a bird's going to have, because he's not protecting his territory and we're not going to have that falling into effect here. So I've got Newt's bowl here. It is empty. There's nothing in it. And I'm just going to simply hook it onto something that will keep it nice and stable, but again, in a nice neutral territory zone. So with the bowl empty, Newt's going to check it out thinking that food is there. I'm going to grab a very high value reward that Newt is going to want, and I'm very simply using large pieces of sunflower seeds here. I'm going to get Newt back up, and I'm just going to pop one seed into the dish, and he's going to eat it. Now, what would normally happen is this food bowl would be filled with food, and the bird would start getting aggressive when the hand comes near it. All I'm doing now is showing him that my hand coming towards the food bowl is adding food to it. I'm adding good things whenever I come to the bowl. I'm not taking it away. I'm not taking him away. He's not getting upset because all I have is delicious, yummy things. Now, right now, there's no food inside that bowl. There's nothing really worth it for him to guard. If your bird is super, super, super resource guarding their bowl, even to the point where there's nothing on it, you might want to try this with a different bowl or find a way that maybe you can just toss the seeds in so you're not quite having to go quite as close. I would be careful with that though, because if you accidentally punch them with a seed, they could get more upset with you. So honestly, I would probably just start fresh, get a new bowl that means nothing, and start from scratch. So this process is just simply showing Newt that every time my hand comes towards the bowl, a new seed is going to be added, and that makes him excited. You can see he's leaning for me, he's excited for me to be here, he's reaching for the seeds. There's no fluffed up nape feathers, there's no aggressive noises, his tail isn't flaring. Newt is quite happy and excited to just be getting freebies. So for a bird who was being a little bit more aggressive, I would start from further away and just toss the seed in, and then gradually move my hand closer until I'd be able to put my hand inside the bowl and be delivering the rewards while basically touching the dish. Once you're at a really stable point with the bird there where you can be putting your hand touching the bowl to deliver the seeds, then I would move on to gradually touching the bowl. And what that would pretty much look like is you might put a seed in the bowl, have them take it, let them fully enjoy it. And then I'm going to reach forward and give Newt a seed at the same time. So now the presentation of my hand coming for the bowl is paired with a delicious treat coming. So my hand coming towards the bowl no longer means resources are going away. It means that a more delicious, valuable resource is coming, and that's okay. You're going to increase the time between your hands. So now I'm going to reach forward and then deliver the treat, not quite touching the dish yet. And then maybe I'll touch the dish a little bit and deliver the treat. And then I'll move it a little bit, give him a treat. And just keep going from there until you can fully grab the bowl and not have any aggressive behavior. The main thing with this to remember is that your bird isn't being aggressive out of any sort of resentment. They're not doing it to be mean to you. To them, this is very valuable and they're just trying to protect it. It's your job to be able to pair it with something else to show them that you coming for the bowl is not a bad thing. And you can see that Newt's not really caring that my hand is reaching for this bowl. He's just checking me out to see if I have any treats I'm going to give him. There's no aggressive behavior happening. He's all good. He just wants his treats. Another way we can go about working with resource guarding is teaching our birds to do something that is incompatible with lunging at you or jumping on the food bowl and getting aggressive with you. A very easy thing to teach them is to plant their feet on a perch and not move in order to have resources delivered. So what this might look like will depend on your bird. With Newt, I would do this already on his cage. He's not presenting aggressive behavior. He's quite happy with this. But if your bird is lunging at you and not going to be able to focus and work in their cage area, you might benefit from teaching this behavior in a more neutral zone with a different food dish or an empty food dish, something that is going to reduce that aggressive response to begin with, and then work your way up to applying it to the cage situation. So there's a few different ways we can go about teaching this. What I'm going to do is I will usually leave my dishes hanging on the cage, and then I'll just grab one of these dishes that are filled with the pellets, and I will just add scoops in. What I want Newt to be able to do is I want him to be able to keep his feet planted on that perch while I am actively adding food to his bowl, and then he can go back and get the food once I have released him from his position. So what this is going to look like is I've got Newt set up on a perch here. I've got his food bowl in a neutral territory zone. It is presently empty. And then I've got my food bowls nice and ready for me here. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to reach forward for my food dish, click and reward Newt for keeping his feetsies on the perch. If Newt flies off and comes for me, I'm just going to simply back away for a second, give him a moment to think, and then cue him to go back to the perch and we'll start again. If your bird is responding aggressively, then you have gone too far. You need to break it up a little slower. So if I reached for the food here and Newt got aggressive with me, I would simply maybe just move my hand a little bit, click and reward, move my hand a little bit more, instead of going so far as to reach for the dish right off the hop. So Newt, can you go to your perch? Good boy. So I'm just gonna wait for Newt's mouth to be empty so he's ready to work. He looks like he is, but he's still chewing. And then once he's all good, I'm gonna reach for the dish. See, so that was just too far for him. So I'm gonna reach just a little bit. Good. Perfect. So we're just making it a little bit simpler so we can set the birds up for success. I'll reach a little more. Good boy. It's okay if he looks at it and moves. I don't care if he's shuffling along the perch. All I care about is that Newt is keeping his feet on it somehow. He can walk along it, he can bob, he can lean, he can do whatever. He just cannot leave this perch and put his feet somewhere else. They gotta be here. Move the bowl a little bit. I'm just gonna gradually increase these steps till I can take the dish and have him staying put. It is important that you wait for their mouths to be empty. If their mouths are full, they're not really actively engaging in the session at that moment. They're just eating and being rewarded for staying where they are. You want to make sure you're fully resetting and practicing the whole motion so your bird is actually understanding from start to finish what you want them to do. If they're actively eating, they're not really a part of what's happening, and they're just going to stay put because they've already got what they want. They're not going to be thinking about what they can do in order to get a treat because they've already got one in their mouths. So now I'm going to start moving the dish a little bit. Going to do a couple dry runs where I'm not actively doing anything yet. I'm just maybe touching the bowl and then pretending to put something here, and he's not going to move. At the present moment, I'm not adding any food to the bowl. I'm just doing the motions of what it would look like when I'm adding foods to the bowl. Okay, so what this final product is going to end up looking like is I'm going to cue Newt to his perch. Good boy, he's going to get a treat for flying there. So will Mia, because she's being very good. I'm going to wait for him to finish, and I'm going to be able to unscrew the lid, take my spoon and grab a scoop, put it in. Newt's going to get another treat because he waited very patiently. And then once I've finished putting everything away, I'm going to give him his release word and he can go get his food. Okay, good boy. Over time, you will be able to phase out a lot of those treats where you can cue the bird to the perch, have them wait, and then the reward for waiting at the end and being released is getting to eat their food. You will not need to use these treats constantly, but during the beginning process, when you're trying to undo a lot of that aggression that they've built up with you being around their food bowl, it is very, very beneficial for you to have an extremely high value motivational reward to keep them excited to have you around their food and to give them a reason to want to stay there. Once your bird is totally solid with the concept and you're not getting any aggressive responses anymore, your bird is calm, they understand, then you can start to phase out some of the treats. You know, maybe they get one for landing on the perch, but then they don't get one for waiting. What they get at the end is getting to go eat their food. How you go about it is totally up to you, but I would definitely just make sure that you are using lots of delicious rewards, rewarding them as many times as you need to while they're waiting in order to get them to stay there for the first bit. Over time, you can gradually phase it out. So that about does it. Those are the two main things I would work on. If your bird is so aggressive to the point where you cannot do either of those drills, simplify it a little bit more. You know, maybe you have an empty food bowl in the middle of a room and you just walk by and drop a big ball of millet near them. Any sort of little things like that where you can drop treats at a distance where a bird is not going to be presenting aggressive body language is going to help them start to associate you passing by their resources with more beneficial things. This can apply to just about any resource that your bird guards, whether it's a cage, the food bowl, some vegetables, a certain toy. You can do the same sort of drills, just obviously you'd be using a toy instead of a food bowl. For those birds that are so heavily guarding their resources that they will not take food in any way, manner, or form, the second that you are in the same room as that thing, they will get angry. You need to get a little bit more creative with the method of your reinforcement. Your bird is being aggressive and guarding something for a reason, and that reason is that they want you to go away and leave that thing alone. So what you can do to utilize this is stand right at that distance where your bird is starting to show a little bit of uncertainty, but they're not fully aggressing yet. Whether that means you're halfway across your house or you're just standing on the other side of the room, I would just stand there and wait, and when your bird goes back to playing with its thing or relaxing, that's when you would click your clicker and just leave. In this situation, you're teaching them that acting aggressively or getting upset doesn't warrant you going away, but them being calm and relaxed when you are near that resource does make you go away, which in this instance is what your bird wants. That's what the reinforcement or the reward would be. The key thing with that though is your timing. If your bird is already getting really aggressive, then you've pushed too far, you are too close, and you need to make sure that you're backing up and working at a more suitable distance where your bird is able to be relaxed and not be pushed to that limit of feeling like they need to present that aggressive body language to you. There are 1,001 different ways you can go about working with this, and of course it all varies depending on the bird. So I'm by no way guaranteeing that this will work for your bird, depending on what circumstances your bird is under that is causing them to behave this way. However, these are some good basic methods that you can use to start working on it, and if you're still having problems, you should definitely contact a certified behaviorist in your area to be able to properly come up with a good training plan for your specific bird. But that will do it for today's video, so thank you guys so much for watching. I really do hope that some of these tips will help you guys out and at least get you started on the right path to being able to successfully work with your birds in a more calm manner. Thank you guys so much for joining me here today, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye! Mia, can you go to your perch? Good girl. Thank you for the kisses. Oh, thank you. I do love your kisses.